This house was built in 1982, and this wooden fence that you see there is pretty rotten. I didn't know how to deal with the going down into this hole and then back up the hill to the property line. So I used these gates, which came with the used fencing that we bought, and I used 1, 2, 3, 4. No. 1, 2, 3 gates, which are a good fence because they're stiff, they're reinforced, and the original use for this fencing was an ostrich pen. A guy who raised ostriches, and so and then when he got rid of his ostriches, he sold off his extra fencing, and some of it's in really bad shape, but I did my best to use as much as possible. This here was totally overgrown, no ledge here, it was just a hill. I changed that so that now it is possible to have a fence here. Wanted to optimize the width of the property after having so much of it not usable for so long. This side, the old fence, which that's the end of it, it came straight across here, and I gave up about 12 feet of land because and so behind the fence was all just weeds and blackberries and ferns, and a couple of maple trees. I took out some maple trees here that were hanging over the house. But so some of the posts are used. Some of them came with the original acquisition of used fencing. About half of them I had to buy, and I bought about 250 feet of new fence to go with the fence that we already had. Come on, doggy, quit it. And I ended up with almost 800 feet of fence, and plus parts of it, which are there's about 80 or 90 feet on this side of the house, and 40 feet on the other side of the house, which don't need to be fenced because there's house there. That's where we'll come out when we've made the trip around the loop. And so we've enclosed, I don't know how much of it has been enclosed, but it's got to be an acre of the 5 acres. This side here was woods and weeds and underbrush, such as you see on the other side there, out to these trees here. And so that's another 8 feet or so on this side, which wasn't able to be used. And so reclaiming the true width of the property was satisfying. Do you have to do that, dog? Allow me to introduce these guys. Oh, the reason for the fence is because of Barcode there. He, as he grew up, he's just 15 months now. As he got older, though, his range widened. And now, if you let him out of the house, he'll disappear for 15 or 20 minutes as he patrols the neighborhood for rabbits and interesting smells. And so this is Monday, and Saturday we picked up Zoltan, the little one. And so now places where the fence doesn't quite come to the ground and reach the ground, those will be filled in because Zoltan can get under there. There are some places where Barcode probably could get under the fence, but he hasn't learned how to do that yet. And as of yet, Zoltan is, he's 3 months old, and he doesn't stray far from the human who is handling him, and so he isn't likely to run off. Barcode, though, will run off at the drop of a hat. So this is the reason for the fence. And there's quite a gap there, but that's all right. Some of the green posts there are old posts. There's a 12-foot gate right there, which happens to be square, but no place to really use a 12-foot gate. And it eliminated the need to go over that hump where the maple tree is in order to match up with the neighbor's fence over there. And the neighbor's fence contains their dogs, one of which barks incessantly, and I thought we don't need to share a fence with such a rascal. Hey, where are you going, big guy? Huh? Yeah? And we have fence left over. There's some that was too bulged or small piece to use. I'll gather that all up and store it back here in the woods where it's likely, given the past history of this place, a branch off an old maple like this, or an alder, which there are many of, will fall and possibly damage the fence. I'll have materials on hand to hopefully enough to repair things. Some of the places I attempted to fence, I put the posts in a curve, and I'm not sure how wise that was, and utilizing all the old top rail that I had necessitated splicing it in places, and these splices are loose. I hate to have a top rail that isn't straight across there, but that's what you get. And who's going to see it anyway, right? Besides the 6 or 8 people that watch this video. So we go around. We're heading north, about to take a right-hand turn to go east. And I plan on leaving this, I plan on planting grass along here so that it's an easy stroll, and even in winter. And there are several gates, some big enough to get the mower through. I have a riding mower that I made several of these paths with. This one here is big enough to get my little tractor through, and I've been half the distance of half the length of the property back there with it on occasion. And now that the fence is built and I can tend to other arboreal necessities here, I'll be taking out some of these alders. Here's an alder that threatens the fence right here. And there's a lot of vine maple. The vine maple's starting to change now. The red stuff is vine maple. All of that. A few old cedars, but all the valuable timber has been taken. I meant to say a few hemlocks. This was a cedar that was probably 8 or 10 feet in diameter at one point, which would have made it 200 or 300, 400 years old. And cedar stumps last a long time, long enough for this hemlock to grow up out of the stump. And that's what it was like around here at the turn of the century. Big old growth timber like that, but it all disappeared as they harvested the easy stuff, and the little narrow gauge railroads reached back into the valleys and the mountains to extract the valuable timber, mainly Douglas fir and cedar, which abounded in this region. And so I'd like to replace some of the fir. There's a lot of space here. I hope to untangle some of this underbrush so that this enclosed area is more accessible to the dogs. The rest of the property, it goes back here another 800 feet or so. And actually the property is only 165 feet wide, but it's 1,294 feet long, so it's good for rolling cigars or similar industry. So here we are, we've crossed the north side, and this is the east side, and this was all thick woods here, and that little tractor facilitated its access. And this is all old fabric here, which came with the package deal. And so the neighbor that on the left there, they built their fence, with this post being a remaining example. They built their fence 2.5 to 3 feet on our side of the property line, which we learned when we had a survey done. And so so we're reclaiming the land, and the fence that I put in comes down here to join up with their fence, but it's not going to replace all of their fence because, for one thing, it's an expense, and also on the other side of their fence they put in rocks and landscaping and whatnot. But the fence is rotting out. When they, if they decide to replace it, then I'll continue. They'll replace it on their side of the line, which is to the left of the fence that I put in, the chain link fence. And then if their fence isn't good enough to contain my dog, I'll continue our chain link down to the area where their fence has been removed. And so that little doodad right there fills the space between what is and what was. So then down here is this would be the existing fence, which was built on our side of the line. Here is where I cut across from east to west, and we utilized a not functional gate and two functional gates. The 6 foot and the 4 foot, when they're both open, are wide enough to get my pickup truck through, so I can go back there and monkey around. This then would be all new fabric again, which joins up with the lean-to, which so named because it takes the place of a little lean-to that was here in the past. There's a tractor gate there big enough to get a tractor through, or a walking gate there. And so here we are, we've made the complete circuit. I'm not sure how many, the square footage of land that's enclosed, but I know that it's some 700 feet of fencing that I put up, plus then the their fence and the width and length of the house, which completes this corner. So we're back where we started there. And I hope you enjoyed the tour. I have my camera attached to a tripod to hopefully lend some weight to it to minimize the jiggling, but I'm sure it's not like having a nice gyroscopic motion dampener attached, but that's the way it goes. That's the fence. It took me a year to do it. Included a lot of clearing and disposing of rubbish and cutting down trees, alders, all alders, which are like weeds here, very undesirable unless you don't care. And digging out stumps where necessary and filling in and leveling and whatnot. We'll see how things turn out by this time next year. And in the meantime, these dogs, oh no, he's going for my throat. These dogs, this is Zoltan, 3 months old. Yeah. These dogs have a place that I can let them out at night and not worry about them running away. And I'm not going to show you the house because it's too junky. We are country folk and have a lot of stuff, and a lot of what we don't use we pile up against the side of the house. Yeah. Okay, bye.